Christ alone is part of our beliefs because there is no one like Jesus. There is absolutely no one like Jesus. He is truly unique. Why do we say that? Well, the first one and the most obvious one is he's the only one ever raised from the dead. He's the only one who has conquered death. In the first century, the Jews, we know, were looking for a Messiah, a king who was going to come, and they thought he was going to come to liberate them from the power of Rome. And actually, there were many others who came to claim that they were the Messiah prior to Jesus. However, when Rome realized that these messiahs had rebellion in mind and they were going to try to overthrow Rome's rule of Israel, guess what happened to them? They were killed. They died. Like everyone else who dies, except for one, they stayed dead. And that's the difference. When Jesus died, his followers too hid from the Romans. They were devastated. They thought he was just another failed Messiah, and therefore not Messiah at all. But when he rose from the dead, his followers regathered, and they quit their jobs, and they risked everything, and most of them gave their lives to tell others about this very unique Jesus. Evidently, rising from the dead makes you worth listening to. So, a few years later, Paul was another one of those spreading the good news of Jesus, and he tells the church in Corinth, this is the truth. And I'm just going to paraphrase 1 Corinthians 15. He says, here's how it happened. Jesus died, he rose again, he appeared to Peter and then to the other disciples and then to more than 500 other people, most of whom are still living, and if you don't believe me, go ask them. If he is not raised from the dead, our faith is futile. Our faith is futile. So that's the first uniqueness of Jesus. He rose from the dead. Another unique part of Jesus is that Jesus is the one who comes to us. He comes to us. He is God who came to earth to experience our human struggles. He experienced real pain and real rejection. He deeply cares for us, and he wants to show us that God wants to be close to us. In other faiths, people try to get to God. They try to do good things to get to God. But through Jesus, God initiates the relationship and the invitation for that relationship. He gives us the opportunity to walk with him in that relationship. Third uniqueness of Jesus is that Jesus understands our real problem. He deals with our sin. We know that Jesus was sinless. He didn't gossip. He didn't treat others unfairly. He didn't sin in any way. People sinned in Jesus' day, and from what I've experienced in life, I still think that's going on today. How about you? I still think that's a problem. And though our culture does not think much about accountability to God these days, sin is real and the consequences are real. It's a disease that separates us from God and it separates us from each other. It's falling short of the person God created us to be. Listen to what Pastor Scott Dudley said about choices of religions. He said, the religion you choose will be based on the problem you think you have. Let me say that again. The religion that you choose will be based on the problem you think you have. If you think you're not smart enough, then you'll choose a religion of enlightenment because you want to be smarter. If you think you're not good enough, you'll choose a religion of deeds to get better, whatever that means. If you think you're not smart enough or good enough, and there's nothing you can do to fix it, then pretty much your only choice is Jesus. Your only choice is Jesus. And for those of us that think we're self-made, then we think that we have the answers for everything, that is until we don't, then sin is still real and it still separates us. And Jesus is still there waiting for us. Sin separates us from God and we can't fix it. Some will suggest, well, then let's just ignore it. Let's just ignore it. But sin, by its nature, separates, and none of us can truly ignore it forever. Every day we fall short in our thoughts, words, and deeds, and the consequences spring up. Yet Jesus was sinless, and so he is the only one who can take away our sin. He took our sin to the cross, and he dealt with our real problem. He's the answer for me. He's the answer for you. He's the answer for everyone. And that's where the trouble comes, isn't it?